I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:33. We'll start with roll call and attendance. Joseph Bryant.
Here.
Josh Muchart. Here. Renee Mankey. Here. Todd Shiver. Here. Brittany Wold.
Here.
Patrick Stanton.
Here.
Gary Epp.
Here.
Sarah Feeney.
Here.
John Dehan.
Present.
Jessica Evenson.
Here.
Nick Shuey.
Here.
Renee Skiles. Sharon Johnson. And myself. We are all present and accounted for today. Start with a agenda approval. Give you a couple seconds to look at the agenda. Looks a little heavy today, so hopefully nobody has any additions. Is there any discussion on the agenda or a motion to approve it? Maybe Nick?
I move to approve the agenda of February 11th, 2015.
Nick motions. Brittany? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Go to the approval of minutes from February 4th. Any discussion on the minutes, corrections? Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 4th meeting. Jessica?
So moved.
We have a second. Brittany? Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nick Shuey abstains. Minutes are approved. Going to reports. As the chair, I have nothing to report.
The only thing I have is just to make note that next week's meeting will be in Black 115, not here. It is on the bottom of the agenda. I'm just going to say it again, and I'm going to say at the end of the meeting we're in Black 150 for next week only.
I need to put that in.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
All right. Now we move on to public comment. At this time, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we can move to old business. Letter regarding the auditor's report. For those who don't remember, the last week we had we voted that Nick Shuey would draft up a letter on behalf of Service and Activities Fee Committee for us to review about the auditor's report. So this time, Nick Shuey, if you would like to take it away.
Sure. So I'll just read directly from what the letter states. Dear Mr. George Clark, as of January 15, 2015, Central Washington University President Dr. James L. Gaudino received a communication from the Washington State Auditor's Office delivering a dissent upon previous reviews in 2011 and 2013. These previous reviews concluded that the allocation of services and activities funds did not fully comply with state law, and in following up with the university, the Washington State Auditor's Office asserted some confounding concepts that the S&A Committee pondering a process of moving into the future. One of the primary questions the S&A Committee faced was the overstatement allocation in the IT desktop replacement program service costs in the amount of $64,732. The committee has been uncertain as to the implications of this overstatement and would like to entertain a follow-up conversation with the university that ultimately develops continuity regarding instances such as these in the future. A secondary question pertains to the potential conflict that the four-year S&A base allocations pose to the current year cost allocation problem that was recognized with the Washington State Auditor's Office. The Washington State Auditor's Office did not hesitate in stating that the university should be using usage activity from the same year as the department expenses. Although the expenses that were formulated from the S&A percentile data were derived from previous years, the S&A Committee is wondering how utilizing these costs in a four-year period to project future expenses will be completed if not advised or permitted through the Auditor's Office. It is the intent of this committee to work closely with the university administration in coordinating and establishing policies that are mutually beneficial to the students, staff, and faculty of Central Washington University. Thoughts?
Did you say that the auditor said it was not in compliance with state law?
I said it. I had that same question immediately,
Said that, yeah.
but it said it says these previous reviews. So earlier he says the previous reviews in 2011 and 2013, which I'm fairly certain that that's what the previous reviews said. It's not what the letters. I think. Yeah, it's not what the letter said, that we weren't in compliance. It's talking about the previous reviews.
It was talking about the previous reviews in which those were not in compliance.
Correct.
And it was a follow-up letter as to those reviews.
Correct. And it's, Because I read that too, I was like, wait a minute, and I had to go back and read that sentence.
It was not this letter that regarded anything that was not in compliance with state law. It had to pertain to previous decisions.
So, are we writing a letter about previous decisions, or are we writing a letter in response to the current letter?
To the IT desktop replacement service program. That's what it's stated to pertain to in the minutes as well. It's in the first.
While she's going with that, Nick, I do have a question. Did we, I cannot remember, did we decide if we wanted to talk about us providing, or at least Sharon providing the information about the $45,000 that was in question without that letter?
Sharon was able to get that information on her own, so we were just going to supplement that through the S&A committee without having to replace it.
So my question was, were we going to put that in the letter, or were we just going to
we're
attach
not.
it?
We were just-
Okay. Because we were gonna CC, whether that guy's name Ivan or Vaughn.
Yvonne,
Ivan Danzera.
Huh? I was just wondering if that we were still planning on doing that with providing the information that you had for the $45,000 that was in question in the report. So that was just my question. It had nothing to do with what we were talking about. So I was waiting for you to finish the letter.
Oh, okay, I heard my name, so.
While Sharon is reading the letter, is there any further discussion on this letter, its content? Does anybody?
Well, I apologize since I wasn't here last week, but I know looking at the minutes, one of the questions about the IT piece was asking the question, does this figure represent 1 year of the 4-year cycle?
sure.
But there's nothing in here asking any questions other than just saying we would like to have a conversation about this type of situation in the future. So is the intent of this letter to ask specifically what the background and what's being done with this one, or for us to develop a future process and leaving this one kind of where it lies?
Stuff. I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think with the conversation, you can expect to see kind of an explanation behind the reasoning in the allocation process, as well as how we can either avoid this in the future or build from this in the future.
And that's what I was hoping based on the conversation. We may just want to reword that
Sure.
last sentence
Sure.
in the second paragraph to say we'd like to entertain a follow-up conversation with the university, because the part that says that ultimately develops continuity regarding this is looking to the future, but also potentially delving further into the specifics of this one.
Yeah, I can see how it would be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
I think it's very well written. I do think it's very well written and does not come across with a mean tone that we do not want to have.
Yeah, this is definitely, I appreciate the fact that it's opening up the lines of communication, not being accusatory in nature, so.
Did you want to say anything about the report?
No, I just wanted to read to make sure that we're not, because I guess the way I read the auditor's report, their main focus was the follow-up to, and the main purpose of this letter is that they've completed the review, and in essence, they didn't find a big glaring issue, and so I would maybe in the way we put the tone, that it's, the main tone should not be that the university was not in compliance with state law.
You do want that to be tone, or you do not?
No, I would not want that to be
Oh.
the main tone,
No.
that's why.
No. Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
And so when I was listening to the tone of the letter.
So Sharon, are you okay with that part where it says funds do not fully comply with state law, or are you recommending
Well,
rewording?
I think if you just put a period after state law, because then all the previous reviews concluded that they did not comply. And then if you start the next sentence with, in following up, then it breaks it into
Sure.
two.
Yeah.
'Cause I think,
Yes.
I understood what you were saying, and
Yeah.
I shouldn't be telling you what to write to the administration, that would tell you inappropriate. I was trying to move the board, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would agree with
And I
that.
think, and I think by adding the period there as well, will help in formulating the new question as to.
It's not
Yeah.
what you're saying is inaccurate,
Oh,
because it's not, it's just breaking up those two thoughts so that you're not saying that this letter is saying that
Mhm.
everything
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
But that,
Yeah.
that
Separate-
introduction
separate
explains why
thoughts.
that letter exists, because they
Yes.
came back.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion on it? All right, I entertain a motion that we approve this letter to be sent to the Service and Activities Fee Committee and CC to the people we discussed. We CC, I don't know them by name. Joe Cluckland, is that what it is?
Clucking.
Clucking. And then per the corrections of changing that sentence in the first paragraph. As an entertainment of emotion. Sorry if I mumbled my words. Jessica,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
John Dehan seconds. Any discussion?
I know that I pointed out making that potential change in that second paragraph, and
Oh, we did not. did we
but that was
say-
not, so I just want to point out that this motion does not include making that change. Which, if we're not going to make it, that's fine.
We probably should. Is anybody you made the motion, so somebody has to make a friendly amendment, which has to be a voting member has to make a friendly
Yeah, so
amendment.
let's do that. Great. So let's do it to me, right? And then I
Yes.
have to approve it? Okay.
What was your correction?
The correction was simply adding into the second paragraph, the last sentence where it says the committee has been uncertain as the implications of this overstatement, would like to entertain a follow-up conversation with the university that ultimately develops continuity regarding instances such as these in the future, but then also adding a brief statement in there and looks into or discuss, I don't know the exact wording we want to put here, I'll let Nick cover that, to discuss this specific situation and whether it was the 1 or 4 years.
Just more clarification.
Yes.
So.
Sarah.
I will move to add those revisions.
Okay, so a friendly amendment. You
As
said,
Sarah.
John, do you, you approve? Okay, so now we can discuss it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Patrick Stanton abstains. Motion is approved. All right, let's carry on. Once again, thank you, Nick, for writing that, taking that on your business schedule. All right, now we can move on to CHI's. Yes, we can. It's okay. No worries. Okay. So this time we're going to move to supplemental funding request presentations for supplemental funding request 1510, the CHI conference, climate change and natural hazards for the amount of $4,944. So if you'd like to come up and present.
Sure. I'm Margaret Reich, and I'm the manager of the Cascadia Hazards Institute. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing in the way of interdisciplinary education. We held our first conference last year, and we were actually anticipating faculty to be the primary audience, and we were wrong. Students were. And we anticipate with the topic of this year being climate change and natural hazards that it'll be the same, that the students will be very interested in hearing from experts from the Climate Impacts Group and from Mr. Ron Sims, who is the former King County executive, former deputy director of HUD, and is a Wildcat, is an alum. So today we're asking for support in S&A funds to help bring the talent to campus. The funds will not be used for food. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
How many students do you know if they came last year, or how many you're expecting to come this year?
Last year, the total that turned up, and we had it in the Hogue Interdisciplinary Lab, so it was kind of a smaller location, smaller venue. We had about 70 to 75 people, and I would say 60, 65 of those were students. We're anticipating between 75 and 100 this year. Again, the topic is so compelling, we think it will be very well attended.
Can you define what the mileage expense is?
Certainly. We have one speaker that is driving from Eugene up. That's Mr. Bob Doppelt. He's our keynote lunch speaker. And then we will have 4 people driving from Seattle to Ellensburg and back. So we're just using the CWU mileage calculator to estimate those costs.
Is there any news as to whether the CWU Foundation Small Grant Program has committed their funds of any amount of $1,600 yet?
You know, I'm really glad you asked that question. This is the typical time of year that those small grant applications are entertained. While I've sent emails asking what the timeline in the schedule will be, and I keep being I'm being told that it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. So I have full intentions of applying, and since they were supportive last year, I wouldn't see any reason that they wouldn't be supported this year.
Is there any further questions? All right, thank you. We'll consider this next week.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So now we can move on to request number 1511, the SHAPE National Conference for the amount of $7,100, presented by Press Club. You'll have 10 minutes to present. Hey Joey, you say those black 151 next week?
Black 150.
150?
150.
Right next to the
door
circle.
next to Bouillon.
It's the one right next to it.
It's nice to get out sometimes. It is. I like Josh Lighty, that's right. do it tomorrow, then. The one that's like, check it out. Keep going for one student. Yeah, I'm gonna end up sitting next to this. Yeah, I was today. There's cookies with more. I am so hungry.
Okay, I'm Margaret Nash, and I'm here on behalf of the Physical Education and School Health Club.
And I'm Araceli Polito.
And we are here to talk to you about the 2015 National Shape America Conference in Seattle, Washington, next month, mid-March. So some of the benefits of attending this conference are the learning experiences and outcomes that the Central Washington University students and faculty get out of it. There are a ton of new trends and technology and activities, lessons, all sorts of different things that we get to learn by attending these conferences. It only happens once a year, so by attending it this year in Seattle is a huge experience for a lot of the new students and members of the Physical Ed and School Health program. It also promotes health wellness for our community here on campus, in our program, and the community of Ellensburg. While we're at the conference, we attend multiple sessions, so we get to go to these sessions, learn about these activities, learn about these new technologies and trends that are coming about throughout the nation. Since it is a national conference, there's people that will be coming from schools from all over the nation, even internationally. So people from the East Coast, South, West Coast, all over, even in our state, our state rivals, Western Washington University, Eastern. We're all going to be there. We're all going to be attending these sessions daily. The conference is a Tuesday through Saturday, so we get to experience a lot of these new technologies and trends and activities. It will be focused on different physical education and school health lessons, so we get to learn that. And next slide, please. And then we also get to create connections. So not only will we be meeting other students our age, other people our age, we will also be talking to and making connections with future employers. So people we may be talking to for getting a job, being interviewed. We may see them there at the conference and hopefully in the future. So it is a good idea to attend the conference and be able to make these personal connections with all these different people. Also to participate in these sessions, like I mentioned, we will be going to multiple sessions a day, depending on our expertise, what we are interested in. We will get to participate in these activities, learn these new trends, learn these new things by actively participating. Also, we get to participate in a national survey with everyone there at the conference. And our club is putting together a notebook, so everyone who attends the conference will be writing a little reflection or piece of paper, a little article about what we learned, what we got out of this conference. So we will be bringing it back to our campus and giving back to our community here in Ellensburg for anyone to look at. So anyone can come and look at this notebook, see what we learned, what we got out of this conference, because we will be learning a ton of new information by attending this conference. The next slide, please.
Okay, so these are just the conferences that we went to in 2011, Boston was 2012. That's just groups that have gone. These are just pictures. As you can see, we're learning new activities so that way we know what to bring back, because we do deal with homeschool kids here in town, and then we do field days in the local schools. So what we learn, we bring back here to work, practice, and do with the kids. Yoga here, we got dance. Things we did in the classroom, was balancing and tennis. Okay, and then for the slack line here, this one's kind of new. And last year, a student got one for free. And I don't know how much they are, but he's using it now as he's student teaching in the West Side. These pictures.
So adventure education, so learning how to do things, teaching activities outdoors, being included in like rock climbing, yoga outside, getting kids outside instead of just trapping them in a gym, and teaching them how to do things inside, getting them outside. That's what adventure education, we get to learn a lot about that at the conference. And then again, here's some more pictures of learning from the sessions, getting involved, talking, making connections with future employers, just people at the conference.
And down here, that was a setup that we had at a previous conference, and we will be, Central has a display at this conference promoting the master's program. And we wear our polos every day, so that promotes Central, and students come up and ask you, oh, what are you guys doing? What do you guys do? And you get new people to come join the program. As you can see, we wear polos at the conference.
Lots of team bonding, hanging out with each other from our club for 4 or 5 days. It's a lot of bonding time. Again, volunteering and presenting, so we will be having a booth at the conference promoting the master's program for Central Washington University, getting our name out there so people can see us.
The nice thing about the master's program is that it's online, so anybody can do it.
From all over.
Okay, so what we're asking for is the hotel expenses. And this is the least amount that it's going to be because it is in Washington State, so it makes sense to get as many kids as possible to go. And questions? Oh, this is the old one.
So the old, I'm assuming that $8,450 is old news and the new value is
Yes.
$6,000.
Yes, yeah, this is an old PowerPoint, I guess. It wasn't the new one.
But I believe it is the $264 a night for the hotel. We're going to do 4 students per room. And there's 30 of us.
So you have 6 rooms,
60.
Oh,
Okay,
and
yes,
so
yes.
that's 24 people.
Great.
I'll just bring her.
6 rooms for 4 people per room, but you have 30 people going. So it's 6 people that aren't staying at the hotel.
Yeah, some people have family or relatives in the Seattle area, so they will not be needing to stay there. Or traveling back for work, back to Ellensburg for work and other things, so they will not be staying at the hotel.
So are you asking 6,000 or 71?
71. We're going to cover some of the registration fee. And it's not for all students because most of us volunteered.
Yeah, so those who volunteer at the conference got our registration fee paid for, or waived for it. Since we're volunteering, so we got paid for that.
Could you tell us about the fundraisers you have planned? I think it says over here we have 3 fundraisers planned.
Yeah, so one of them, the homeschooling, every quarter we try to get a few our club members to teach PE and help the homeschoolers. This quarter, we're doing it a couple days a week, and we have about maximum maybe like 20 students that come, and they do give us a check, so we have one of those as money coming into the club.
And Throw You Earth too. And I think that's all we have for this quarter.
Where did you come up with $200 a day per person for your food per diem rate?
For,
Per person. I think it's times 4 days.
oh, for 4 days.
4 days.
Okay, that's the 4-day rate, okay.
But we're not asking for money for food.
Yeah, so our club would pay for that. Of course.
Student expenses. Yeah.
So, question. It says transportation to airport, shuttle, gas, etc. So, is not everybody taking the shuttle?
We will be carpooling too. So yeah, we're not going to the airport. So just gas from here to Seattle to the conference.
So here you have listed that there is a club account, yet we do not have an amount in your club account listed. Do you give me off the top of your head, or anybody from the audience?
I believe it's like 2,000. Roughly.
It's right around, my name is Kevin McFadden. I'm a graduate student with the PESH program. I've been here since 2010 and helped these guys with this. With the club account, the reason why that's not listed on this presentation is that money is going to be allocated to attend the regional conference this summer in Montana. So that's why we're not utilizing that money for this presentation. And as far as with the gas and the transportation, that's a typo on our part. It's not to the airport, it's just getting to the conference. That's paid out of pocket by the students. The only thing they're requesting tonight is for the offset of the registration for some people that weren't able to volunteer, couldn't come in a couple days, and the hotel costs.
Thank you.
Is there an estimate that we have on the students that we're not able to register? Because it'll change, just for your all's sake.
Right. I think it's about 12 to 15.
Just on that note to add, most of those people that didn't register aren't gonna get their hotel, they're gonna do like a day registration since it's in Seattle. So that's why there's, the number that's anticipated for this cost is the ones that are gonna be able to stay and participate for the full 4 days, where some people can only come one day. So those are the ones that are kind of trying to offset that cost as well. And some of the some of the people that volunteered, we only had a certain number, so that's where those are the offset.
Sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, are you staying at the conference hotel?
No, that one was booked. We're off a few blocks, so we're gonna have to walk. And
Okay.
it's cheaper too.
250 is a lot, but it is
No,
Seattle,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. It's the lowest rate we could find that was kind of close enough to walk. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more. You mentioned that since this conference is in Seattle, that it's a great opportunity to get as many students over there as possible. So I'm wondering how you went about selecting students to go. Did you just, anybody who could go is going, or
Anybody
did you
who
require them
Who's
to do
part
anything?
of the PESH program?
Okay.
With the exception, the ones that got their registrations covered from SHAPE, there was a criteria they had to meet as far as being active in the club. There was a point system developed where they had to be at a certain amount of meetings, certain events that they volunteered. Those were the ones that got their conference registrations paid for. So it was a competitive sense to try and get their registration paid for. And then as far as the ones that got that, they had the most point tallied, and then the other ones were secondary to getting into the conference.
Thanks.
Oh, this is the last question.
That's okay.
So there's an indiscrepancy between the total revenue and the total expenses of the event, and I'm just curious to see where the other $7,100 is going to come from to make up the total expenses of the project.
That's coming from, that's us being,
If you subtract
Yes.
the 11 from the,
But we're still in something.
While he's calculating, what is the registration?
Registration, now since it's past the early registration, I think has went up to almost 150, 160 per student for the full, first
Yeah,
session.
it's over
went-
200, it's down to
Yeah, oh, it's
Oh, it's
230 now?
Yeah.
So it's 230.
It was
They just worked it out for
140, I think.
Early bird was 140, and now, since it's past that, it's all the way to 230.
And these people haven't registered yet?
They have.
Oh, they
So it's
have.
all it would be all reimbursement based on what funds are available.
140 registration.
We've already
We're ready.
registered for the conference. We're asking for the funding for the hotels.
Yeah.
But
But
we're
most
already
of-
paid to go to it.
Most of this group up here is all the ones that have been selected and volunteered and are getting the rate. So SHAPE covered that $140 waiver at that time, but the other ones would be the 230 registration rate.
Just a question, when you wrote in the budget explanation section, you said that if your fundraisers do well, that you won't need as much money from us. When will you know about the fundraisers or how much income you're getting from that?
fundraisers are done for this, like, at this point, this is what we have.
So this isn't relevant, what's right here then? I just didn't, if
Yeah,
any more
so
income is
it's-
coming in or if
and
this
that's
is
kinda-
just it.
That was my bad on not catching that wording because it is hard to guarantee how much you're gonna get from a fundraiser or whatnot. But just to say in the past that for some reason we've always ended up being able to talk our way at the hotel when all the kids and getting a lower rate when we're in present. And in the past years, we've always returned or by policy, you don't get to keep what you don't spend, but we've always
Had something to
never
take back.
spent in the full amount that has been awarded.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, no worries, I just wanted.
Chairman.
Can you explain what the membership covers?
The membership is what we have to pay
To be a part
to
of
be
the
part of
SHAPE,
the organization.
SHAPE America.
Okay, and so what, does it say like an annual membership?
Yes.
And
And we're covering that ourselves.
So a follow-up question for that is, the membership is not required to attend the conference at all?
Yes,
It is required.
So it's,
You cannot register for the conference unless you are a SHAPE member. And I think I can answer your question a little better with what it entails as being a member is, this is our organization because physical education's been on the chopping block in legislation for years about getting cut and funded. So this organization is the one that's lobbying for us to keep our jobs. So they're paying in to help these guys get into the lobby, get in to keep those jobs. It also gives every student, they get a pick from 3 journals that they'll receive updated news articles and publications. It also gives them to see if they want to go down the road, what other programs. So that's what the membership really gives them, is that they're backing these guys fighting for their jobs in DC and Olympia and stuff like that.
but people are members without going to this conference. They're two different.
Yes, you can be a member without going to the conference, but to go to the conference and register, you have to be a member.
Are there any more questions? Nick? Seeing no more questions, we'll vote on this next week.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
You look like you were jumping for something. No.
Thank you all for coming to support them.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
All right, at this time we can move on to some supplemental funding requests. 1512, 1513, 1514, 1515, 1516, 1517, 1518, 1519, 1520, 1521, 1522, 1523, 1524, 1525, 1526, 1527, 1528, 1529, 1530, 1531, 1532, 1533, 1534, 1535, 1536, 1537, 1538, 1539, 1540, 1541, 1542, 1543, 1544, 1545, 1546, 1547, 1548, 1549, 1550, 1551, 1552, 1553, 1554, 1555, 1556, 1557, 1558, 1559, 1560, 1561, 1562, 1563, 1564, 1565, 1566, 1567, 1568, 1569, 1570, 1571, 1572, 1573, 1574, 1575, 1576, 1577, 1578, 1579, 1580, 1581, 1582, 1583, 1584, 1585, 1586, 1587, 1588, 1589, 1590, 1591, 1592, 1593, 1594, 1595, 1596, 1597, 1598, 1599, 1500, 1501, 1502, 1503, the ICCA semifinals with Boots and Cats for the amount of $4,200. It's funny, it's weird. I noticed that I was like, yeah, I sort of feel bad. It wasn't me, just you. It was just like,
We're gonna do another demonstration.
get straight to it, you know? The bad guy asking all the mean questions.
More than that.
No, I try not to ask questions. Now, at least now.
His laugh.
Live your life like it's always been.
No, last year I asked all the questions. I asked all the hard.
Actually remember.
Last year I asked all the hard questions.
We presented on the same one that they presented on last year.
No, you did the same one as Lawn Justice Club. 'Cause
Oh,
I was in that
okay,
club,
Lawn
and we're like, wow, they did really well. And then
I think it must have been the year previous. I was here with Local Jazz 1 on the same night that Pesh presented. It was a very long night for him. I think it was you or someone else in the
It was me.
There's just, yeah, like, I heard of questions. You have questions?
I don't like spending money. Just kidding. All right. You have.
It's probably easier for you to roll that one.
Yeah, it is. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, and then, just hit me with it. You can do it. These are mine.
Did everybody see the PowerPoint?
Oh, no, it gets bigger.
No, as far as Yeah,
Everyone
'cause I-
break out your reading glasses?
I just can't see it because of the lighting either.
Okay.
So I
You were in high school? We went into that.
Ooh.
Hey.
There we go.
Yep. I can do it. Okay.
Camera's at night vision now.
Might have to put it in there.
And one more time. Hey, there we go. So my name's Nicole Prigge. I'm one of the co-leaders for Boots and Cats. We are Central's premier mixed small a cappella ensemble. And so what we are about to request from you all is $4,200, which would cover a myriad of travel expenses, which I'll get into in the next couple slides. We are requesting $600 from Club Senate, which will cover our hotel. As far as other means of funding, we are in the process of selling club t-shirts. We're seeking local sponsorships, but we're not hanging our hats on it just because, you know, everyone else is seeking local sponsorships as well. And then we've done some performances in the past that run into our club account. So just to give you kind of an idea of what we have coming up that's already on the books, which is why we're not having a more vigorous funding drive. We'll be working with a children's YouTube series called Blippi. They have about 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. And we're going to be singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I'm a little teapot, and the lion sleeps tonight. We'll be recording audio with him as well as making some music videos over the next couple months to help educate our youth. And then March, right before we leave, we'll be giving the Seattle Police Department talent show and all of the greater King County area police department officers a little showcase of some acapella goodness. So we're prepping for them as well. So, who we are, Boots and Cats. We are a 7-member ensemble, making us the smallest competing ensemble for the varsity vocals competition. Varsity vocals is like the big governing body, and then the competition itself is the International Championships of Collegiate Acapella, or as I'm going to refer to it for the rest of the presentation, the ICCAs, because that would get all my 10 minutes. So we'll be in the greater Los Angeles area. Pomona, California is where we'll be competing. We'll be flying into Ontario, which are all kind of in the same general clump. When the competition is March 28th, and then the how of this is that there are about 300 groups that compete at the regional level, and then within that first regional level, 80% of your competition is automatically eliminated. So we made it through that regional level. We placed first, taking home 3 of the 4 specialty awards. So best vocal percussion, best soloist, and best choreo. That's the best Central's ever done. Central, until last year, had never placed, which we took second last year and took home 1 specialty award. This is the most specialty awards Central's ever taken home as well. So as far as the learning opportunities, last year we had a great chance to be exposed to some pretty professional people. We met Tim Davis, who is a producer for Glee, and we were able to spend the day with him at Studio One. We had to leave because Jennifer Lopez had to come in and record her album, and so he took us and we had lunch with him. And then before we knew it, we were in Capitol Records and we were meeting one of their recording executives, and they let us record a track there, and then they let us sit in and watch them produce the sound for one of the Disney's TV shows, children's shows for Hawaii. So we got to watch all this happen and watch Tim put down, we were like, oh, we actually needed someone to sing on this. Can we borrow you for a second? So it blew our minds last year. So that's kind of the exposure to an industry. It's changed a lot of our directions as far as what we wanted to do. Thought that we had to be music educators, or you had to be in composition, or you had to be this or that. So it's kind of changed our general direction, and we're hoping that this year with another opportunity we'll be able to create a few more ties. Higher caliber musicians. At the regional level, it's great musicianship, but at the next level we're competing against people like the Scattertones, who opened for in case you know them, the Pentatonics in Alaska earlier this fall. The people who won last year, Pitch Slap, will be touring with the Sing Off this year. So it's a whole new ball game for us. It's increased opportunities to learn and better our craft. We came back last year completely inspired, and I think it really shows in the work that we've done this year and the improvement. As far as networking goes, it gives us a great opportunity to just meet different people. We've been reaching out. We've already chatted with Ben Brahms, who is the arranger, producer. He basically is Pentatonic's sixth member. He won't be able to work with us, but he's already invited us to come hang out with him next time we're in LA. So it's things like that where you start to make these connections that maybe we'll have a future, that someday maybe we'll be on one of those little flags as you walk up the hallways. Great. And we're hoping to establish Central as an acapella powerhouse. We would be the Cinderella story in that we're 7 members, and most of these groups are 14 to 18 members, and no one knows us. When they announce Central, there's like, are you guys from Washington, D.C.? No, but excellent try.
Next.
Seattle. Yeah, you guys are from Seattle. Basically. So next again, as far as what our proposed budget is. So there's a personal investment. The per diem for Los Angeles is $71 per day. So for 7 members, for 4 days, we're looking at $2,535. And then as far as transportation and that includes Ellensburg to SeaTac and back, as well as we'll be meeting up with some family members who are going to drive us to the airport, so we don't have to worry about a shuttle. We'll be staying the night in Puyallup at Emily Salisbury's family's home, and then they're going to drive us there, so we won't be utilizing a hotel the night before. That way we can take an earlier flight, because earlier in the day, cheaper it is. And then as far as club fundraising and sponsorship, it should be around $1,000. We performed for the Martin Luther King Day. There was an event celebrating it was on his birthday, and so we ended up providing entertainment for that. We're hoping to allocate that to future things in the spring, since if we do advance, the finals are in New York on April 18th, and there's not a lot of turnaround for us to do any fundraising in that time, so we're hoping to hold on to that just for a little bit, because the odds are looking pretty good right now. And then Club Senate will be requested. The little asterisk at the bottom is that for our uniforms since last year, we went in there and we were like, music professional fresh, and no one else at the semifinals was. They were all really cutting edge, and they looked super fashionable, and we're like, hi, we're wearing ties and dresses. And so we kind of stepped that up, and all of this has come out of pocket at this point. So the performance uniforms were around $200 a piece, some a little bit more, some a tiny bit less. So we were looking at about $1,200 for that. And next. So as far as the anticipated expenses, we're looking at $350 for the rental van. We luck out, one of our members is 27, so we're renting it and paying for it under her name so that we don't have to deal with the $50 young driver fee for every single day that we have it. Then as far as the gas goes for when we're down in LA, going around trying to meet up with the different people that we'll be working with, as well as over to SeaTac and back. I have a Subaru, so gas mileage, holler. for Best Western, and he's gotten us a really great deal. That's why it's so low in the greater Los Angeles area. So we'll be utilizing that. Airfare is looking around 3,800, but that'll be give or take. We will be flying want to get away flights so that we don't have to worry about paying extra for, you know, the clothes that we'll need for 5 days of travel, all of that, since you can check 2 bags for free. And their airfare on the way down is looking to be about $120, but that's when I checked 2 days ago. It will be going up the longer that we wait. But, and then as far as the vocal coaching, we'll be taking care of on our own, but we just finalized this morning that we'll have the opportunity to work with Robert Dietz, who is an arranger for the Sing Off Season 3. But we'll be covering that on our own. That's just an anticipated expense. The food per diem, as mentioned before, and then total expenses. Next, sorry. So the itinerary, we'll be leaving March 24th, the evening of, and driving over to Puyallup. We will be staying with a group member's family. They'll drive us to the airport on the 25th. We'll fly down. We'll get there. We'll spend as much time as possible chasing around people to work with. We'll compete on the 28th, and then we'll fly back on the 29th. As far as critiques go, we have confirmed with Tim Davis, the man that we worked with last year, and then we've confirmed with Robert Dietz as of this morning. Still working on finalizing a couple others that are in the area, but they can't really, since they're studio singers, they don't really plan their schedules in advance. They just kind of wait for the call, quote unquote. Yes. And so just the full budget breakdown that shows the cost per member, which is around $355. It'll give or take depending on who we can get to vocally coach us, since their rates range anywhere from $100 to $200 per hour just for their time minus mileage. We intend to pay for that all out of pocket since it will be benefiting us directly. And then the food per diem, as stated before, rental van, hotels, just a few more details about the rooms. We'll be packing them as tight as we can without putting girls on guys. So, next. Just explaining a little bit more about airfare, but I won't bore you with it because it'll be forever. There's not enough coffee in the world. Is the sound set? I just wanted to play you guys a tiny little 3 minutes, the very beginning of our set, just to give you an idea of what it is we've been slaving over.
I did plug it in, I just got it, I can't see.
So this was at the regionals in January.
guess the big thing is just this has been kind of a life-changing experience for all of us. It's given us new direction on where we think we want to go and the people that we've met, and I think we're just really hoping that with the chance to go down to the semifinals, if you place first, you move on to the finals in New York. Only 8 groups in the whole entire world compete in New York. That's it. You'd be in the top 8. And I think that this year we've learned a lot since last year. We've put in probably hundreds of hours of time since we started formulating all of this. So that's just a little bit about us. Ready for all the questions.
All right, does committee have any questions? You get the Nick Shuey stamp approval. No questions? All right, we'll talk about next week.
Thank you for your time.
Experience lunch.
Alrighty. I'm trying. Maybe if I could talk as fast as that one girl can sing, I might be able to look at this meeting. Alright, now we can move to subsection B, base funding program reviews. We can start with the ASCW Club Senate, Mr. Phil Rush. You have
tough act with all of it.
Yeah,
I don't have any fun videos,
yes.
just boring figures. So.
Alright.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that works for me. Perfect.
Alright, 10 minutes.
Okay. So hi there, my name is Phil Rush. I'm the VP for Clubs and Orgs, and this is our base funding review for the Clubs and Organizations office. So if you want to skip to the next slide. This is just kind of a breakdown of the ASCW student government and how the Clubs office kind of fits into that. So you've got the overarching ASCWU student government, and below it you have Clubs and Organizations. It's kind of split into 2 parts. On one side you have my office and my staff. Up here we have the club treasurer. Their job is to review all funding requests before they go on to Funds Council, and once they go to Funds Council they get voted on at Club Senate. The insurance coordinator, what their job is they process all of the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of paper we get for clubs. So they do club recognition. They also do all the insurance paperwork with Argus Insurance to make sure that if somebody gets hurt at a club meeting or an event, they're covered by insurance. And the events coordinator is kind of a new position that started last year, and we're still kind of refining it. We used to have an administrative assistant. Their job was to take minutes. We have a meeting once a week, so that was kind of a poor use of that position, so we kind of revamped it. They still take minutes, but now they also are a traveling liaison to clubs. They go to club meetings, they talk to them, figure out what their goals are. They're also a resource that clubs can go to if they need ideas for fundraising or events, that kind of stuff. So it's a better way to have a representative there for clubs to come talk to. On the other side of things is Club Senate. Now this is the actual students who are in clubs and are participating with club activities. Right now we have 2,300 students in clubs, which for us is a big increase over previous years, especially for this time of the year. Right now we're barely into February and we already have 120 clubs on campus. Normally we end the year at around 110. So this is kind of a banner year for us. So if you want to go on to the next slide, please. Here's kind of the purpose of what the club's office is and what we do. The club's office is there to provide students with opportunities for growth and experience in their areas of interest. This could be academic interests, could be hobbies, could be civic engagement, etc. So it's pretty much if people want to get involved with what they're passionate about, join a club. If there's not a club there, we'll help you start one. So that's what our office is all about, is putting those opportunities out there for students. We help support clubs by providing access to supplemental funding. A lot of clubs go to conferences, a lot of clubs host events on campus, and all those things have costs associated with them. All the clubs do fundraising, but on top of that, we also have part of our budget set aside where they can come to us, similar to you guys, and ask for money for events. Here are our funding categories. When Clubs and Orgs first started up, we only gave money for travel. That's it. That's why when you see a cost from us, it's listed as club travel for our account. But we have a lot of different funding categories now, years later. We can cover travel expenses, registration costs for conferences, educational supplies, advertising, guest speakers, hotel costs. Later on this year, Clubs and Orgs is also, we talked it over with Circuit Accounting, and they're going to vote to have room rental as part of that, so clubs can get room costs on campus covered by asking for funds. Such as if they want to hold an event in the ballroom, they can request that money to rent the ballroom. Another thing is we help coordinate events on and off campus, and we have a partnership with the CWU and with the Associated Students of Central Washington University. So here's just kind of our financial breakdown for the last fiscal year. We had a fund surplus at the end of the year here, and we also had a fund surplus at the beginning of last year. There's a reason for this. It's not that we just have too much money. Clubs and Orgs is kind of odd where we have clubs that ask us for money for summer events, but the fiscal year ends in June. So we approve money for events in one fiscal year, and then we pay out in the next fiscal year. So there's two different ways to handle this. Previously, how people who have had my job, the VPs have handled it, is we spend our budget down to zero, and then it's the next VP's problem. And that's great, but then you end up with years where you run out of money in January because you've got $20,000, $30,000 of summer events. So we've kind of been taking a different stance on that in the office, where we set aside a little bit to help offset those costs. And like the previous year, we had about $15,000 set aside, and then we had about $15,000 worth of summer requests, so it all works out. This last year, the reason we had so much of a net change going in is that we had a lot of students ask for summer events, and then a lot of those students didn't go on their summer events, or they didn't turn in the correct paperwork for their summer events. So we ended up with a little bit of surplus at the start of the year. So under here, you see all of our big expenses are listed under goods and services. I'm not spending $66,000 on goods and services, I promise. Club travel, that account is listed under goods and services. And again, what club travel includes is all of our Club Senate allocations. That's travel, hotel, registration costs, educational supplies, advertising, and guest speakers. And with that, we can go on to the next slide here. So, do you guys have any questions for me about clubs and orgs or anything in the presentation? Awesome. So, thank you very much for having me. And if you need to get a hold of me, my information, easiest way is through email, ascwuclubs@cwu.edu. Or you can call my office at 509-963-1682. And with that, thank you much. Thank you.
All right, and now we can hear the funny request program review for pet band also.
So my name is Chandra Ramprasad, and I'm a graduate TA. And I work for the bands programs, so I am the director of pit bands, so that's why I'm here. I'm just going to go through this handout that you guys all received this, I assume? Okay. So I was just going to answer these questions and go down the line. So it said, how many years has the program been receiving S&A funding? We started in the 1980s, and it was discontinued in the 1990s for a while until former President McIntyre requested that the band regroup, and it has been receiving funding ever since then. So this is where it gets a little strange. It says how many students does the area employ? So there are 32 students combined that are constantly involved in the program. I'm counted as one of those 32. So we hire 31 students, but there are 70 that audition into the ensemble. About 70. And what happens is that throughout the year, to accommodate students who are in the music program, they couldn't possibly make it to every single game, but to make sure that we're really serving the sports program, we have substitutes. And so usually what ends up happening is that at least one student has another performance they have to play out with the jazz band or one of the other ensembles. And so they get a sub down on the sub list from the auditions, and they come in and then they get paid per gig that they come in. So that usually ends up being about 60 students that end up participating in pet band in any given year, but there may be about 70 kids who audition. The prevailing wage paid to student employees it's quite low. We pay them a $20 travel stipend per game. Each game is about 3 hours long. So they get $20 for that, but they're so excited to be there, and I've never heard them complain once about that.
The undergraduate conductor, we also have a student conductor that I have been sort of mentoring. Her name is Emily Hurd, and she receives $30 per game due to the extra time necessary. She does score studies, she learns all the pieces to conduct them, and we trade off and I give her feedback. And the percussionists receive $25. They get an extra $5 for the extra hour that they put in hauling these massive equipment and drums, and they have to get everything piled into the van. I drive it over, a block, and then they unload it, and it's just, but I've just been so blessed by them. They're so sweet. And then this is part of my regular TA duties, so that's all within my acceptance as a TA. How do we decide on the programs or services we offer? We try to come to as many as we can. So we start in January because of the way that our schedule is set and how many programs are going on in the music department. We do our auditions like the day we get back for winter quarter. And then after auditions are done and we've gotten like 2 rehearsals in, we just go to the next game. And the way we decided is if there are any major concerts or if there's major scheduling problems, like for instance this week, there are 2 games that we can't go to because on Thursday and Saturday, almost the entire building in the music department, we're heading out to the Music Educators Conference that will be held in Spokane. So if we had the pep band play, there'd be like 3 kids. So that's how we decide, but we try to go to every single game that we could possibly serve, and that's how we add it up. Let's see. We solicit input from the students. The graduate TA, me and myself, and the undergraduate directors work together to select current and popular music for the basketball games. There's usually input from the other members of the ensemble for the selection of music. So her and I talk about what we thought was successful in previous years, how students played, how they performed, and how did the audience respond to music. And that's usually what bases our choices off of. And then also I do receive student input. They were very displeased with how we were directing tequila, because we wanted to do the old-fashioned hokey way and swing it, and they wanted to do it straight, and so we took a bunch of those things into consideration. We changed our performance, or we changed tempos based on students' artistic expression. So that does happen. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Let's see. Have we collaborated with other areas in support of student programming and services? We collaborate with the game and event staff during every event to make sure that the entire basketball game experience is positive. So we have, I think the athletics department has meetings most Mondays. And I go there and I talked and I discussed with them and met with the cheerleaders just to say like, hey, we're gonna play the chicken dance. Will you guys dance to it? Or we're gonna do the electric slide. And then I taught them how to do that because they were too young. And we talked, we worked with the athletics directors to just get pep up. So like if they had a Hawaiian night the other night, and they were coordinating, how can we get more people involved? And we're like, okay, well the band will dress up, we'll wear Hawaiian shirts, or on 60s nights, the kids, they were so adorable. They went out to Goodwill and they bought things, because we don't have uniforms for pep band, because it's a club. So they went out and they bought a white t-shirt, and then one kid decorated, he didn't have markers, so he used food coloring to stain a shirt and make a big smiley face to represent the 60s. It was just super precious, and we get really into working with the athletics department on that. Little things. How do your program goals support the university goals? Well, the university goal is to prepare our students for responsible citizenship and enlightened and productive lives. The Wildcat Pep Band missions is threefold: entertainment, support, and training. Training for our music education majors, of which most of the band is made up of. Entertainment for the students and the alum and the public who hear and see the band at the games. And support, obviously, for the CWU athletic events to support them, just in any way we possibly can, and keeping the morale of the audience and the crowd up so that they have the support that they need. That's a big part of what we do. The pep band contributes enormously to the atmosphere of the games and benefits the teams and all who attend, and helps create a sense of identity for the university as an intrinsic part of campus life. The structure and instructional processes used in pep band also provide a model for our future education majors. Oh, I skipped a whole big page. Anyway, so what we do, a lot of We actually don't have classes that teach students how to do marching band or pep band. That's not part of their education. So a lot of what they get is just from attending and seeing what we do, or giving us input and learning the material, like learning the, what's the word I'm looking for? Learning the musical material. Anyway, but learning the body of music that they'll play when they get out there and start teaching too. That's fantastic. Let's see. Oh, it says 8. How many students do you serve, or what best estimated? We had about 70 students audition. 60 of them end up getting serving at some point or another, either as a sub or as a full-time person. And the band serves the entire CWU student body by providing entertainment for the home basketball games. And the learning objectives, do you guys want me to read that? Okay. I do want to point out there was because pep band and marching band have so much in common, just in terms of how we're functioning and what we're doing to support the athletics team. My professor, Mr. Guggen, made a mistake, and he copy and pasted some of our objectives that are from marching band and pep band. So we do not develop marching abilities and skills. We don't march at these games, so I just want to make that clear. That is the typo. Do you guys have any more questions for me?
Do you guys play the men's and the women's games?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we try to do just as much of either, but we go to all the games we can. So I think it almost always comes out even. Yeah. We play the Canadian games too.
Oh, really?
We bought, and to better support the athletics team, we bought a whole new arrangement because our Canadian national anthem was quite terrible and it had very many typos, and we were embarrassed for not, in previous years, not supporting the Canadians we should be. So, we bought new music. Invasion of You guys have any other questions? No. All right, guys.
Great enthusiasm.
Do we have any more requests, supplemental funding requests?
It's fun. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go all night. Nick is not questioned out yet.
Wait, if you had your position, can you ask those questions?
No, well, I guess he could. I mean, previous committee chairs decided to ask many a question. Almost as many as myself. But, okay, moving on. Other business communications received? No communications? Nice. Public comment, second call, cue the crickets. Oh,
Just as a reminder, next week's meeting will be in Black 150, not here. So please don't show up here. There's something else that's going to be here. I know.
I'm sure I will.
yeah.
I know. It's still going to be out in the agenda.
I'm sorry if I'm late next week, because that's probably
Everyone is probably going to show up here, and there's another meeting or something going on, so you're going to be very confused when you walk in.
It's like 5:45.
Black 150.
I'm gonna go off.
I'll bold it when I send it out, and I'll have they put it in big bold in the email.
Yeah, put it in the subject.
I only know because it's on my calendar in
The
big
subject like
bold.
black 150.
Yeah,
They were
keep
just
it
gonna
like
big-
all caps.
a big sign on the door before the stairs. That way we don't get
And if anyone knows anyone who is in any of the groups tonight, even though I announced it earlier, if they choose to show up to see the vote, they want to go to Black 150,
Oh, heck, I know.
not here. I know they're all going to go there. I said it earlier, still going to say it now, but that's all I have.
All right. Any other second call for public comment? Anything else anybody like to talk about? We can now. I'd like now to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
John Dean, John Dean seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Meeting adjourned.
Hopefully I was speaking to the group.
Just